Town.
Luton Town have achieved the dream. They came from the depths of non-league football to become a Premier League side. But will they remain a Premier League team, or will they return to the Championship? Let's investigate how they can actually stay up. From where we came. We begin with where it all started for Luton back in 2009. It was the year in which Luton sunk into relegation to the National League after the EFL and English FA deducted 30 points from them at the start of the season for several years of financial irregularities. It was despair for Luton, who had a proud history being created all the way back in 1885 and were part of England's old First Division, before being relegated in 1992, 3 months before the start of the Premier League. However, Luton were resilient and they had hope against all odds. But there was one inevitable truth. Getting out of the National League was hard. So how would they do it? 4 seasons later, and Luton still hadn't managed their great escape from the National League. They still had hope though, and in 2013, Luton hired John Still as manager. Before his Luton appointment, Still had enjoyed a record of successes at National League level, stretching back over 20 years, having won promotion to the English Football League with Maidstone United in 1989 and Dagenham and Redbridge in 2007. His appointment stirred the champion spirit in Luton, and they became reborn. Still led Luton to promotion in his very first season in charge, and they made it to League Two in the 2014-15 season. But their journey to the top had only just begun. Halfway through that season, Still made way for Nathan Jones as he was sacked in December of 2015. Jones then helped guide relegation-bound Luton to an 11th placed finish. They then made it to League Two playoffs in 2016-17, but lost in the semi-final to Blackpool, who beat them 6-5. Luton may have lost the game, but they didn't lose their desire for glory. Jones stated his desire to get Luton to League One, and he did just that, as Luton were promoted to League One the next season as runners-up. Afterwards, Jones left Luton for Stoke City, but this didn't affect them too much, as the team only spent a single season in League One before being promoted to the Championship. Nathan Jones returned to Luton in May of 2020, and in the 2021-22 season, he led them to the playoffs. Unfortunately, they didn't make it that year. However, they had their sniff of glory and were determined that they could do it all over again. This time though, they had to do it without Jones as he left for Huddersfield. Luton promptly hired Rob Edwards, and the team secured another Championship playoff spot in the 2022-23 season and won by beating Coventry in the final at Wembley. Luton had done it. They had qualified for the 2023-24 Premier League season and created history while doing so. They became the first club to secure promotion from non-league football all the way up to the Premier League. Unfortunately, Luton would make an important discovery. Promotion to the Premier League was just half of the job. Their first top-flight campaign in over 30 years soon left the realms of dream to become a nightmare. Early heartbreaks and causes. In their first match of the season against Brighton, Luton got a rude shock. They might have believed they were ready for the Premier League, but Brighton thumped them 4-1. Then they went on to lose to fellow newly promoted team Burnley, before they suffered another humiliating defeat to Chelsea. Then they lost to West Ham and Fulham before drawing against Wolves and beating Everton to get their first win of the season. The team didn't change their pattern. They stuck to what they knew and what worked for them in the leagues below. We're not going to be sexy, silky football, we can be direct, their coach Rob Edwards said at the start of the season. Luton didn't play for possession, as they averaged less than 40% in their overall possession stats. They also have one of the fastest direct speeds of attacks. Unfortunately, at the beginning of the season, despite most of their losses being just by a goal, everything pointed to Luton returning to the Championship, and they were an architect of their own problems. How? Well, their refusal to evolve the style of play that they were used to. Not every team can retain possession, but those who don't have to do a significant amount of work. Now, as we've mentioned, Luton have a below 40% average possession. In the first few matches of the season, it was more like 35.4% possession. So, if a team isn't relying on possession to create chances, They have to be hard-working and press their opponents. But at the beginning of the season, Luton weren't pressing enough. They had around 37.3 pressures in the final third until December the 1st, and they were the third lowest in the division when it came to pressing. The team favoured three at the back, with their wing-backs bounding forward and providing more options in attack. They heavily relied on their wing-back play to get something from their matches, but weren't dynamic with how they used their wing-backs. Before December 2023, they had 203 crosses, putting them as the team that crossed the most in the league. That lack of dynamism punished them, and the worst part, they weren't scoring as much from those crosses. They scored 10 goals in the 11 games, which put them at 15th overall in the league for goals scored. However, in the process, they missed 15 big chances, which could have earned them a draw and won games for them, as they usually lost to their opponents by a goal. Their striker, Carlton Morris, scored 3 goals during the period, 2 of which were penalties. He was their target man, and he only averaged 2.5 shots in those games. Morris had support from Elijah Adebayo, who also chipped in with goals, but it wasn't enough to get wins. Apart from their problems at the front, Luton also suffered at the back. Luton Town were finding it difficult to cope with fast counter-attacks and through balls. Their defensive midfielder and Zimbabwe international Marvelous Nakamba was a rock for them. Before being overtaken by João Palhinha, Nakamba led the league in most tackles, with 3.4 tackles won per game. Luton are very good aerially, but not so much with balls threaded on the ground. This has led Luton to struggle against quick 1-2s from opponents. To prevent this, Rob Edwards fielded 8 players in their half, which itself prevented potent attacks from the club. So, this brings us to the big question: what must Luton Town do to survive? Since December, Luton Town have managed to turn things around, sort of. They have been helped in part by the point docking that Everton faced, and more importantly, they can take pleasure that Nottingham Forest, a fellow relegation candidate, received a 4-point deduction, which could be huge further down the line. Luton are only a few points from safety and can take advantage of the situation if they continue to improve their ability to press opponents on the final third. Luton know they aren't a possession team, so they have become a pressing team instead. Since December, their former 37.3 pressures per game in the final third has grown to 60.4 pressures per game, behind Manchester City with 62.8 and Everton with 77.9 pressures per game. The increase in their pressure, especially those in the attacking third, has helped them take the game to their opponents. In their home match against Brighton this season, their first goal came through a press, which won them back the ball within 8 seconds of kickoff. Luton went on to win that match 4-0, and it must have been enjoyable revenge for them. If Luton want to continue scoring an impressive amount of goals, they must continue to prioritise their attacking game and not sink back into a park-the-bus setup. Recently, Luton have improved their shot frequency with more shots on target than they had before. As the team continues to improve their attacks, they have also become more clinical, as they've scored more big chances and have a 77.8% big chance conversion rate. However, they have had some luck. Some of Luton's chances are lower quality, but they find their way into the back of the net. Luton scored more than expected, and only Manchester City and Tottenham are above them in this stat. With this sort of luck in front of goal, the question is, are they more clinical or just in a purple patch? Whatever the case, in order to stay up, Luton have to score, and to score, the team must increase their chance creation. Earlier in the season, the team had been crossing heavily, but they have since found more dynamism in how they create chances and have reduced how much they cross. Their wing-backs, especially left wing-back Alfie Doughty, has been leading the team in chance creation and have created over 56 chances, which have produced 7 assists so far and will likely get to double figures by the season's end. With his performances, Doughty might become the subject of transfer speculation in the June transfer window, but that's for another day. Ross Barkley is also helping Luton with chance creation, but if they want their goals to be more than just luck, they have to put in more than the current work they are putting in both chance creation and scoring. However, they are on the right track. From game week 34, Luton play Brentford, Wolves, Everton, West Ham and Fulham on the final day. These games are huge, and Luton may need 9 or 10 points from these last 5 games. So do you think Luton will stay up? Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel for more.